Today I'm going to show you how to make a harmony, stability and safety trio necklace. The kit has 3 separate necklaces that you can wear on their own or layered together. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to make a trio of necklaces for a fraction of the cost of what it would be if you bought them in the shop. And I'm sure that you'll be wearing them a lot once you've made them. The kits are available from our website, nadiaminkoff.com/beadshop. All the instructions are also available to download from our website in case you need more guidance. So let me talk you through and show you how we make this beautiful set. So in our kit you will find 1 green jasper briolette bead, 12 Swarovski beads, 1 irregular pearl, 1.3 meters of fine chain, 15 centimeters of 6mm wire, 2 oval castings. You will need 3 clasps and some head pins. There should be 12 head pins, but I always include a few more, and some jump rings, and I've got them in 2 sizes, which is 0.2mm and 0.5mm. And for your tools you will need cutters, round nose pliers and flat nose pliers. And I also have a pair of flash cutters. You don't have to use these, but these work fantastically well for anything to do with wire, and it's a very good piece of equipment to have. The first thing I'm going to do is prepare the chain. There are 3 chains for this set of necklaces, because they're graduated, each one's a different length, but you do prepare them in exactly the same way. So you will have 1 chain which is 35 centimeters long, about 14 inches, 1 which is 40 centimeters long, which is about 16 inches, and the last one is 46 centimeters long, which is 18. So you will need to grab a ruler or a tape measure and cut your chain for the 3 lengths, and with your cutters just snip. I'm going to show you how to finish off your chains. So you will need your clasp and some of your jump rings for this. On one side, take 0.2mm jump rings. Put your chain through the jump ring and put one of your 0.5mm jump rings on it and close it. Then I'm just going to open this larger jump ring and I'm going to put the lobster clasp on it and close it. Just make sure there are no gaps. And on the other side I'm going to make a little extender so that the necklace is adjustable. And I do this by opening one of the small jump rings, and I will put 2 of the 5mm jump rings on it and close it, because you want to add about 5 centimeters to your chain with your extender so that you can adjust the length when you wear it. Sometimes you might want it to be slightly longer, sometimes you'll want to wear it at its shortest. So it's good to have an extender that's 5 centimeters long. So my extender is going to have 4 0.5mm jump rings and 3 0.2 jump rings, and I'm going to take 1 more 0.2 jump ring and attach it to the end of my chain, and then I'll attach the extender to it. And I feed the chain through as well. So now my chain is ready. And I will prepare the other two chains in exactly the same way. With my 3 chains ready, with the clasp and the little extender on them, I'm going to start off by preparing the briolette pendant, which is going to be wire wrapped. A briolette pendant is called a briolette because of its teardrop shape, but this one is called a pendant because the hole in this particular one is at the top. So when you put your wire wrap on it, it will be hanging from the top, as opposed to a bead, which would have a hole that goes from one side to the other. So I'm going to get a 15 centimeter length of 0.6 millimeter wire to feed through it and cut it. And then I will put my wire through the bead, and it might be easier for you to see at this point why it's called a pendant rather than a bead, so you can see the hole at the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch the wire with my fingers to create a Y shape at the top, and I've left a little gap on the top of my pendant, so when I place my pliers on it, it won't damage the top of the bead. And now I'm just going to carefully place my flat nose pliers just at the little join, and I'm going to make a 90-degree angle with the shorter part of the wire, and then I'm going to twist it twice around my wire. It's really just to secure it, and it makes a little coil. I'm going to remove my flat nose pliers, and I'm just going to trim the wire. So now I've got one long wire at the top of my bead, and I'm going to give it a 90-degree bend, and I'm going to take my round nose pliers and place them just above the bend, and I'm going to make a loop by turning my pliers around and then following it through with my fingers so that I have a full loop. I'll remove my pliers so you can have a look and see. I'm just going to straighten it a bit. So now I have a loop, and I'm going to carefully take hold of my loop with my flat nose pliers, and then I'm going to twist the length of the wire that I've got left over the coil that I had before and right down more or less to the top of my bead. Now that I've wrapped my wire around and I just have a little bit left and I'm almost at the top of my bead, I'm going to remove my flat nose pliers, and I'm going to cut the excess wire as close as I can, carefully, without damaging the coil. And I'm just going to tuck in the little edge with my flat nose pliers so that there's no sharp edges, and straighten up my coil a little. And now my briolette pendant is ready to go on the chain, and I'm going to put it on the chain by opening one of the 0.5mm jump rings. I'm going to put it on the middle chain, and the chain is going to be loose So I'm not putting it through a jump ring or through one of the rings of the chain. I'm literally putting the chain through my jump ring so it's loose, and I'm going to put a pendant on it. And carefully close my jump ring. Next, I'm going to make a little cluster that will go on my oval casting, and I'm going to put this on my shortest chain. So I'm going to start off by choosing 4 beads, which I'm going to pin. And I'm quickly going to loop them. So I'm just going to make a little bend at the top with my flat nose pliers. And trim them with my cutters. So I've left about 1 centimetre, and I will make a loop. If you need a reminder on how to pin and loop your beads, I will put the link to the little tutorial, and it will come up about now. I'm going to do the same thing, the exact same thing with all 4 beads. And with my 4 beads pinned and looped, I'm going to attach them to my casting. So my casting has 2 holes, one at the bottom and one at the top, and I'm going to put a jump ring through the bottom one to start off with. I'm going to open my jump ring and put it through the bottom hole in my casting, and then I'm going to put my 4 looped beads onto it. And carefully close my jump ring. Remember to always open and close your jump rings forwards and backwards so that they're not misshapen, and make sure that there's no gap at the top. And now I have my little cluster ready, and I'm going to put another jump ring through the top. I will put my casting on top of it, and again I'm going to let the chain run freely through this, so I'm not putting it through any of the links in the chain. I'm just putting the chain onto it. Yep, so it runs free, and I'm going to carefully close it forwards and backwards. So the short chain is now ready. For the last chain, I'm going to make another cluster that will go on the eyelet at the bottom of this link, and I'm going to prepare what we call a skeleton, which will be 3 of the 0.5mm jump rings joined by 2 of the 0.2mm jump rings, and then I can hang these little beads off them, and instead of it being a cluster that's all together, it's more separate, so it will give it a bit more detail. So I'll start off by making my skeleton. Now before I close my last jump ring, which I'm going to put through the little jump ring, I'm actually going to put the casting through it. And then close it. So now my skeleton is ready for me to put the beads on it once I've pinned and looped them, which is the next thing I'm going to do. These are the beads that I'm going to pin and loop, but I do have one pendant bead here. So the hole for this bead runs through the top of it. I don't need to pin and loop it. I will join it straight to my skeleton on a jump ring. For my last cluster, I've pinned 4 of my beads and I'm going to loop them now. So I'll open one of the larger jump rings and put the bead through it. And I'm going to put it on the bottom jump ring of the pendant and close it. Now that I've got my pendant bead on the bottom eyelet, I'm going to put 2 beads on my top eyelet and 2 beads on my middle eyelet, and it will make a nice cluster to finish off this necklace. So now my final cluster is ready, and I'm going to attach it to the chain by putting a jump ring through the top eyelet. Open my jump ring and I will put the cluster through it first on the casting, then the chain. Just make sure it's free before you close your eyelet. It's quite easy for it to get caught in the jump ring. So now my third necklace is ready. The last thing I want to do to finish these necklaces off so they look professional is put a little bead at the end of my extender. And I'm going to use the same crystal bead to put on each one. I'm going to pin them and loop them just like the other beads, and it will just finish it off beautifully. My 3 little beads are ready to go at the end of my extenders. I'm just straightening them, and I'm going to open the last jump ring on each extender, put the little looped bead through it and carefully close it, making sure there are no gaps. So you have a little bead at the end of your extender. Now I have 3 separate chains and 3 separate necklaces. Each one of these can be worn on their own, but they also look beautiful if you layer them. So layer 1, 2 or 3 of them together